Agulhas, the world's toughest boat race. 1,000 kilometers from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean.
It was wild, it was great. This is what it's all about, eh? Big swells around the... I've never seen those big swells before.
So I was scared today because not the conditions I can handle, I wouldn't have got here, but the thought in my mind is if I do get it wrong, I'm going to end up broken, maybe dead. A lot more serious if you get it wrong here, whereas at home, you know, you can get home and on the beach and it's okay. Here it's very extreme.
Each boat carries two members, a pilot who steers and a co-pilot who balances the boat.
It's all about setting the boat up with water ahead of you. You know, you can't just go flat out the whole time. If the sea's quite rough, you've got to read the water, throttle on, throttle off, and basically keep the boat afloat.
After a 1,000 kilometer...
Here comes Torbjorn.
And motor through the specs, etc., with the organisers of the event.
Looking at the long line that takes you all the way through to Hermanus and then through to the Strand and Somerset West, that's what these pilots face over no less than 5 days together with their co-pilots. And from Keerboom's Mossel Bay, still by Struisbaai, Hermanus to Strand.
The Agulhas, obviously. So I heard about that and I came down here actually last year to be ground crew to see what it was all about, and then we said we have to come down and see if we can manage to do the Agulhas. So we got 4 boats and 4 teams to come down here this year, and we've been here for about 4 weeks now practicing and getting prepared and all that. So that's how we heard about the Agulhas. The sea here is big. It's very big, and also we're not used to the surf and we're not used to the big swells out in the sea. So it's this is the big one for us to do, obviously.
Competition, the defending champion in the blueprint class, Ludolf Turin, together with his co-pilot Leonard Pratt, as we look at the start for day 1. 5 long days ahead.
Very long days ahead. Conditions looking quite favourable for, I'd say, a high-speed first leg. The guys will obviously be just taking it pretty easy, getting themselves sorted out as they exit the main start.
That was relatively straightforward and smooth. However, the big break is still coming, so you have to pick the right line.
Absolutely. And just going back to what Ludolf said there is... you know, they're not knowing the opposition at this stage. The top guys, yes, haven't had a chance also on the national circuit yet. Normally beforehand, there's one long haul prior to the Agulhas, which gives the guys a bit of a feeling of where they're lying with each other. So, yes, very nervous for them, I suppose, at this stage of the game.
Well, trouble here for Robertson Abattoir, and they have got that engine is giving them big drama. That's not the way to start your 5-day trek.
Very frustrating.
Another one of the British teams, the UK team, Team Jersey, they're battling to get going as well. Some trouble.
No, the boat, the New Zealand guys hit us. No, it's one of those things. The wave came and bumped out their boat on top of ours, and his propeller cut the pontoon, so one of those things. Pretty disappointing, but that's racing.
That is indeed racing, and you can't trust those All Blacks, can you?
No, there's always a sheep living in some.
The Heinz brothers, and they couldn't continue. And also trouble for De Tooy and Radin in their INJ boat out there in the breakers.
No, it's down on the surf. Fell down on the surf, saw breaking.
And Errol, they also would not get to the end of this day.
So 90 kilometers an hour, I'd say, on a day like this, if they set up properly, the top guys will really be moving. And talking about big boys.
A hammerhead shark looking to nail something. Well, there is a rather large fellow. We showed you a rather large one last year. Oh, look at this school of dolphins and porpoises. And there is the big boy. I wonder if...
Very quick there. Rest of the boat spotting close up. And here we see the happening to the best.
Piet Fourie, and just getting a little over-exuberant there.
Like I was saying earlier on, it can happen so quickly.
Well, Piet Fourie and Wessel Fourie and Piet Fourie plant higher, that would cost them all the places down to 8th spot eventually. Coming in second and capitalizing on that mistake, Marius Lodewijks and Johan from Clutch Brake Supplies, Melkbos. And third place, Michael Hutting and Stefan Higu from Danlo Aquarius. That's a great dismount too.
Fantastic. Very close racing, as you can see with the times as they're coming in. Awesome to see as we take a look again at this. I mean, how's that for cornering?
The Wave just catching the hijacker there, and then coming home in 4th place, Lionel Ball and Andries de Villiers from East London.
Yes, nice to see the boys up there. Nice to see H&H again. Tennis for positions, high speed, close racing.
And indeed, this is very much like Formula 1 racing or track racing.
Absolutely. Obviously, there will be a lot of changes made for circuit racing on the motors, settings, positioning of the motor, and of course propellers. That's where it all lies. The secret is in the props and setting up of the rig.
In P750 and P750S class.
They're both running 50 horsepower motors. Motors that are mostly used are Yamahas and Tohatsu. They're both very close in the...
And then even bigger trouble, can you believe it, Errol? This is Piet Fourie flipping his boat at the start.
Devastating. I can't believe this has happened to him after yesterday, but this just goes to show, if you're unrattled before the race, and obviously he was frustrated trying to get his motor, thought he'd missed the start of it, and just sheer frustration and lack of concentration put it over just before the start of the race coming in.
Both of them having pontoon trouble, but both sets got it right. And as you were saying, if you're just a little on the over-exuberant side, like Rotenbach Transport were there, and it's very good to see so many of the folks coming out to support the races.
Very close racing here. We see the two balls at it again. You see as Roy cutting on the inside there, fantastic move there.
The two brothers really do have competitiveness between them, unrivaled by most other competitors.
Absolutely, it's ball to ball.
CBS absolutely flying along too. Coming into the finish, and another very tight finish. Look at the sprinting here for the line. Who's got the quickest legs? Oops.
Yes. Fantastic. Fantastic. Really nice footage here.
The Kiwis still enjoying their time in sunny South Africa. Haven't seen a cloud since they've been here. Coming through for a win, that will no doubt rattle the folks back home in the long white cloud country. The men in the top 5 are not wanting to give away anything whatsoever. In the meantime, Barry Marks and Jacques Leroux from Vereniging, the upcountry boys, have been doing very well.
In the blueprint class, you're allowed to do specification modifications as to the factory specs laid down. In the standard class, no alterations done to the motor. The biggest, I'd say, difference also is that with the standard class, you have a rev limiter, and in the blueprint class, no rev limiter.
Well, we spoke about benign conditions, but you can still turn the boat over virtually on any particular wave.
I mean, just look, coming back at you, looking at how well the boats are set up. They're really moving well. Boats are really well trimmed. The guys have really done their homework for this third leg. All the boats I've seen so far are looking well set up.
Here's an interesting one. This boat on the right-hand side of our screen going just off the wake of the boat in front. Why? Very, very flat conditions, and the boys in the back wouldn't have wanted that. Lionel Ball going completely crazy, and in fact going right through the advertising order. Everything about the big chop out there. This is where the race gets its name from, the Trans-Agulhas, or the...
Error there as well, under the pressure, just looking for a quick getaway.
Well, here are the Jersey boys in a spot of bother. Now, the Australians have come to their help, and there...
No.
Can you believe that? The prop has nicked that pontoon, and that's trouble now. They've tried to help, and they've made it worse. Well, they're going to tow them in all the way, and that's very brave of them, but their race for the day probably over.
Just a point there also, just notice that the pontoons also on the other side are able to carry the boat, which is a great safety aspect about the boats.
And that is a sight that you cannot pay enough money for. And in the background at the finish there, the Southern Right Whale showing off its wares.
It's almost as if he's indicating where the beach turn boys. Only as you can see, there's plenty white water. This might present a bit of a problem to some of the pilots that chose high-speed props, where they're going to find plenty cavitation. As you could see, that pilot, that is actually the prop slipping in the water, and he's trying to rebuild the prop up in the water to get a grip and to thrust forward.
And the boys were really having their work cut out.
We just quickly changed your prop. The serve is a bit big. We need some bite in the prop to sort it out, you know. So we're going to do it now.
Well, they'd actually gone out and then decided to come back and change that prop, because this is the kind of surf that they faced, and if you took it ever so slightly on the wrong line, you had to meet it at exactly 90 degrees, didn't you?
Absolutely. Just coming back to that prop choice, the guy made the right choice there. It's running a singer on a 15 pitch, I could imagine, semi-cleaver. It is a Yamaha prop. Just looking at the force of the water there, Arnie, the guys have to keep it head on. They can't afford to make mistakes in that big surf.
Either kelp around the prop there or engine trouble itself.
And look at it, Ludolf. I mean, you could only expect that from an experienced pilot. I wouldn't say any of the inexperienced pilots should try something like that. That is danger point, and it doesn't get that name for nothing. I've been through there where the surf is huge, and it pushes way out there. You can even make up 5 minutes by taking a chance like that.
And the boiling pot coming up. Now, the officer of the day at the beginning of the day explained to the pilots that they wanted them to go around the boiling pot rocks, but it wasn't all that easy.
No, definitely not, Arnie. As from a pilot's point of view, coming from the seaside of it, you can't actually differentiate between that rock's face and it being part of the actual land itself. So it's very difficult and tricky until it's almost right upon you.
Well, that boat had to resort to asking directions from the fishermen. And now the other fishermen on the side are saying, "Nee, ander kant om." Other side, yes.
He's so dear, he's so dear.
Not easy. Viking says, "Thank you, boys, we appreciate that. Well, we found the right place."
And he's talking about a Vengeance. That's a make-off prop that he's going to run. It's a good all-round prop.
The Le Mans start for the 5th and final day of this very tough event, and 4 checkpoints: Onrus, Kleinmond, Koelbaai and Gordons Bay waiting, and again lots of airtime.
You can see the boats nicely spread out there, all looking for the quickest way out of the bay.
Erasmus and Fourie experiencing trouble. That's BC carriers, but nothing of the sort for the boys in Century 2000.
Roy must be really happy to be up there, and as the boat hit the wave, it flipped it straight over.
Big drama for the Ludovics brothers here in the CBS boat, and is that kelp or engine trouble?
Arnie, either or. It's really at a terrible time for them in the race when they were lying in 3rd place. And talking about quick mistakes, as we see Lionel Baulier coming out of his flip. Oh man, I can't believe that. On the last leg of it, he must be devastated. The maximum out.
And that is indeed what you thought it was. Look at that point. Does that look like 4 meters or what?
It's a monster. Absolute monster.
It's exactly why you don't want to turn. The Jersey boys still enjoying their South African sunshine and conditions.
Watch the huge swells and remember the rocks and the sharks.